So let's start from programming fundamentals. First, let us try to understand what is a variable. So without variable, we cannot create any functional implementations. So variable is must in our programming. So let's try to understand what is a variable and how many types of variables will be there. So suppose if I want to store customer first name, so then I can take a variable like this, f name equal to, so some name, and L name is equals to Kumar. So here we have two variables are used to store the values. So this f name and L name, we are going to call it as variables. So variable is a system allocated memory. It is a system allocated memory. So memory means, again we are going to get lot many doubts. So there are different types of memory. So here we have primary memory and secondary memory. So there will be two types of memories are available. One is primary memory, another one is secondary memory. So primary memory is completely volatile. So secondary memory is going to be permanent memory. Permanent in the sense till you delete it. It's not going to be something like undeletable element or something. So it can be deleted. So primary means it's completely volatile. So whenever your program is getting, whenever your program completes its execution in the processor, so immediately this is going to clear its memory. That is what we can call it as primary memory. So normally in our computer, so we used to call RAM memory is going to be primary memory, and the memory which we use in hard disk or SSD nowadays, so that can be called as secondary memory. So it is not going to use the 100% RAM memory. So whenever it comes to this variable memory allocation, so inside RAM there is some portion of memory is there. Suppose if this is your RAM memory, there will be some unit or some portion will be dedicated for programming. So that memory can be called as technically heap memory. So we can call it as heap memory. So this heap memory is some portion from the RAM memory which will be used for programming memory allocations. So whenever I declare any variable, so let's say some example, a is equals to 15. So a is going to be the name of the variable, 15 is the data that is going to be stored inside this a. So let's see this one. So in this scenario, so system is going to allocate some memory from this heap. So like this. So for that memory, system is going to allocate a name like whatever the variable name that we have assigned. So now here in this scenario, we have given a there. So internally it is going to store the value 15 here. So that means variable a has stored the data 15 inside the heap memory. So this will be happen automatically whenever you are going to store a variable. But so in the real time scenario, 15 is not going to store directly like this. It will be converted into binary like this. Okay. So this binary memory allocation so will be stored inside this heap memory. So for our understanding, I have mentioned it as 15. So whenever it is giving back the value, so this kind of value will be converted to 15. So whenever you are retrieving value from the variable. So what I can conclude, variable is a system allocated memory. So that is going to be allocated from heap memory from the RAM. So where your data will be converted into a binary number, so then it is going to be stored. Whenever you are retrieving the value, so this binary number will be converted into so human understandable numbers. So this conversion will be happen every time. And this is not only the behavior of variable. So after declaring a as 15, so we can also change its value. So now whenever I say a is equal to 25, so then value 15 will be converted, changed from 15 to 25 in the variable value a. So this is the default behavior of a variable. So variable means the value is not going to be fixed, it can be changed. So that's how variables can be utilized in the programming. And under the same category there will be a type called constants. So if you take any other programming languages like C or something, so we used to define constants with this const keyword. So suppose int, so int means integer, so then if I am going to take some b is equal to 25, so that means variable b will be initialized of the type integer, so which is going to be a constant variable. So if you create a variables like this, so you cannot change its value once it is assigned, so it's like a read only option. So b value will be 25 till the time you close the program or the program ends. Okay, so if I am going to try like this, so I may get an error. So why? Because here b value was assigned the type as constant, so constant values cannot be modified. So these are the two types of variables will be there. So whereas coming to the Java, so there are no constants are there in Java. There are no constants are there in Java. So there is an alternative. Instead of const, we can use the final keyword. So final means the value is going to be fixed. You cannot modify this one. Okay. So I will show you both the examples. So as of now, consider int is an integer. So as you people already from the background of C language, so post this one we can discuss about what are the different data types are there. So how many wrapper classes are there, how many primitive data types are there, we can check it. Okay. Okay, now let's see the example how we can create a variable. So yesterday we have created a project in Eclipse. So inside this I'm going to create a new class again. So you can simply right click on the project or you can right click on src folder. There is an option called class. So then we'll get this class. So variable can be created with a simple example. So int a is equals to 15. Now 15 is the data. So a is the variable name. The type of variable is integer, int we have mentioned. In case if you want to print it on the screen, so we have used system.out.println. The shortcut we can type it is sysout, and you can press control space, then automatically this statement will be generated. So like that we can create variables. So now whenever you are going to execute, so if you execute this, you can see 15 on the screen. As I have mentioned, so variable values can be changed. So now I am giving 19 here. So if I am going to print it again, so then we can observe that the value of variable a was changed from 15 to 19. So this is how we can able to create variables. As I have mentioned, there are no constants. If you are going to create a constant, so we will get an error. So I will show you that const int b is equals to some 74. So now you can see, so syntax error on token of const. So it won't allow you to create constants by using the const keyword. So we have an alternative, as I have mentioned, final. So now let's print this on the screen, sysout, and I am trying to print the variable b here. So now you can see, as usual, you can get 74. Suppose if you want to modify, if I am going to pass b is equals to 55, you are going to get an error. The final local variable b cannot be assigned. So why? Because that's a constant. So this is how you can create variables and constants in Java programming language. Anybody have any questions? Is everybody clear?
Yes, sir.
topic here, that is what we can call it as data types. So as we have seen that variable is a system allocated memory which can store the data, right? So what kind of data, that will be decided by this data types. Okay, so basically let me show you a picture here. Since Java is object oriented, now if you see this picture, so data types in Java can be classified into two types. One is primitive data types, the second one is non-primitive data types or reference data types. Under primitive data types, there are some classes called Boolean. Boolean is a class. So where this green color indicates these are classes. So whenever it is class, you have to create an object, otherwise you cannot use them. Whereas blue color boxes will indicate these are the regular primitive data types. So where you no need to create any object, directly we can utilize. However, just now we have used int, right? So second one, character is a class, char is the keyword. So these are wrapper classes we can call. The green color background boxes can be called as wrapper classes. So these blue color boxes will indicate primitive data types. So character is a class, char is a keyword created for that class. Integer is a class, int is the shortcut that is created for this particular integer class. So we have byte, int, long, all these are the type of integers implemented. So from float we have single float and double float primitive data types are available. Let me show you a simple example. Let me create a new class, right click on the project, go to new, and there is a class option. So here data types, and I am selecting main method, click on finish. So now here, in case if you want to mention, so what is integer, so if you want to use the wrapper class, so then you have to mention integer. Okay, so some I equals to new integer. So since it's a class, so every time you have to mention what is the value like this. So instead of this, so just now we have seen a shortcut int a is equal to 15. Whenever you want to use the wrapper class, you have to mention like this. So like this also you can mention in the latest versions. In the previous versions, you have to mention only like this. Now you can see it was what we can call deprecated. So we have a latest syntax. Okay. So whenever you mention like this, so suppose int I is equal to 15, you can also check some things by default. So normally if anybody from C language background, so we may by heart a number that. So whenever we say it is an integer, so integer can store value from minus 32,768 to plus 32,767. When you mention any variable as an integer, so that can store value between this value to this value. Am I correct? So, but here the numbers are going to be a bit larger, so we cannot by heart like this. So I will show you how to achieve them. So integer I, so then you can expect I value 15 will get printed on the screen. Now in case if you want to know what is the maximum size that an integer can store, so first let's see what is the minimum. So if you type the variable value, I mean variable name I followed by, so since it is a class, So we have a variable inside the class called minimum value. So now if you are going to type this, it will give you what is the minimum value that can store. That means, so whenever you say it is an integer from Java, so it can store from this value to, and similarly I can achieve what is the maximum value that can store also, I dot max value. So now you can see this is the maximum value that you can store inside an integer value. So this is the range of an integer. Okay, so from this value to this value you can able to store values. Let's try. So suppose if I am going to assign this, and if you are going to execute, the program will execute as expected. So suppose if I am going to make it 8, so then immediately you are going to get an error, you cannot store this value inside an integer. Okay, so like that you can achieve what is the minimum value and what is the maximum value inside the variable. So but whenever you mentioned a variable like this, int j is equals to some value, and as usual you can print that variable j value, and j dot, you cannot expect the minimum or maximum. Why? Because integer is a class, int is a primitive keyword, you cannot extract minimum value or maximum value, and there are some functions are there inside these classes. Going forward we can see them. So but you cannot get any functional implementation from the class. So this can be called as creating variable by using wrapper class, creating variable by using primitive data types like this. Are we clear? Any questions? Is everyone following?
Yes, sir.
What about remaining people?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So like that you can use wrapper classes and you can use primitive data types. Okay. So as I have shown in this diagram, so these green color boxes are classes, wrapper classes. Blue color boxes will indicate primitive data types. So in the previous versions, as I have mentioned, in case if you want to create an integer, so you have to create like this. So which is the lengthy syntax. People not going to be showing interest to create integers or short values like this. So later, so we are changing the syntaxes like this in the recent versions. Okay. So people will always prefer to create variables by using primitive keywords only. So next one, so you can try with all these things. So I hope everybody aware about this. Boolean can store Boolean can store only true or false. Am I correct? So you can mention Boolean b equals to, that can able to store either true or false. Now if you are going to print b, so it will display it as false only. So that's how Boolean variables will be useful to store true or false. And similarly, let's take double, some d is equals to, you can store a value like this. Okay, so this out, you can print the decimal values. So now you got to know the difference, right? So this is a class and this is a primitive keyword. And whenever we are mentioning float values, so float some variable name equals to, so we can give it like this. The difference between, and whenever you are assigning float values, at the end you have to mention f, okay, so then it will be considered it as a float value. So let's print and get to know the difference between double and float. So whenever it is double, so it will print the full value like this, you can see. So ends with 6129, it is printing the all characters. But whereas it comes to the float, it will round up to 5 characters after dot. That means, so after decimal point we can store up to 5 decimals. So if you are giving a larger value than this one, so that is going to be round up to 5 digits. So that is the difference between double and float. Okay. So I hope the remaining types you are clear with this. Byte will be used to store the values in a byte array format. So bit is going to store 1 and 0, right? Byte array is going to store the combinations of ones and zeros. And coming to the character and string, so char is the primitive keyword. So you can see this, otherwise we have to use the character class. So char is a primitive keyword, you can mention like this, char ch is equal to. So characters should be mentioned inside the single quote. Why? Because numbers are going to be printed without any quotes. So characters should be using single quote. So what is mean by character? Normally we used to think, so only A to Z are the characters, correct? So but so every keyboard key is a character. So I mean to say you can able to store A to Z or 0 to 9 or else you can take any special characters also. So all these can be stored inside a character. Suppose I want to store a question mark. Yes, it is possible. So now in case if I want to print it, so now I can print like this, ch. So now you can see the question mark on the output screen. So we can also store any of alphabets. So for in the same ch, I am going to store the variable, and whenever you are printing it, so it is going to print the same value b on the screen. So system will store the ASCII value whenever you are retrieving back. So the ASCII value will get converted into character type. So these are the primitive data types that what we can use. But you can see surprisingly the string will comes under reference type or non-primitive types. So what is mean by string? So string is a collection of characters. It is going to store multiple characters inside the same variable. So string can be declared like this, string as capital letter. It is a reference type and it is non-primitive type, as we have seen that. So some s is equals to some value like this, hello user. Okay. So whenever you want to print it on the screen, so we can print like however variable will be printed. So but category comes it as non-primitive types. So these are not going to be wrapper classes and this is not going to be implemented from a wrapper class. So these are going to be called as reference types. Any questions? Are we clear so far?
Yes, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Next, let's get into one topic called concatenation. So normally concatenations will be useful whenever you want to print something or whenever you want to format a string. So at that time, so this concatenations will be used. So for concatenation, so we are going to use a symbol called plus. So plus is going to be act as addition operator whenever it is in between, whenever it is in between two integers. Suppose, so if there is an integer and if you have another integer, it is going to be work as addition operator. whenever you have a float value and you have a float or integer combination, so then also it is going to be act as addition operator. So maybe you can consider the same scenario of double plus double. So then it is going to be act as addition operator only. Even you can mix of all these things, one int plus float, int plus double, double plus float, double plus int. So all these combinations will act as an integer. But whenever it is going to be using along with a combination of string, so suppose if you have a string and plus string, so it is going to be act as concat operator or concatenation operator. So whenever it is string plus integer, then also it is going to be act as concat operator. Whenever it is string plus float or double, then also it will be going to be act as concat operator. So what I can say, whenever you use this plus with a combination of string, it is going to be becoming as a concat operator. So let's see what is concat operator and how it is going to be useful in our program. So I am going to create a class here, even otherwise we can continue it here itself. So now you can see there is a string example. So string first name equal to, I think we have already mentioned, no, okay. So another one, string last name, like this. So then we have first name and last name. So now you can say this, we are going to print f name plus l name. So we are going to be considered it is, so concatenating these two variables f name and l name. Now whenever you print it on the screen, now you can observe, so this first name and last name has printed without any spaces. That means this plus symbol is concatenating the first name and last name variables. So in case if you want, if you are expecting some space should be there after the between these two values, so then we have to write f name concatenated by a string. Double quotes means it is a string, right? So there I am giving some spaces. So now if you print, you won't get to know any differences. There are spaces actually. So whenever you want to concat last name also, you have to use one more plus here. This plus is going to concat this entire string with this last name. Now you can see the spaces between the first name and last name, like this. If you want only one space, you can take it like this. So like that concatenations will be done. So concatenation symbol is plus. Whenever you use that with a combination of string, so instead of addition operator, it will be converted into, so the type is concat operator. Okay, even in the same way, so as I have mentioned, if you add any numbers also, so that will be work like the same. Suppose you have string v1 is equals to, in double quotes I have mentioned 10 here. So in some x is equals to 25. So v1 is a string, x is a integer. Suppose while printing it, if I am going to write v1 plus x, so what we can expect? We cannot expect 35. So it is going to be printing 10 and 25 like this. Why? Because it is detected that v1 is of data type is string and this is an integer, so that the plus will be used it as concat operator. Okay, so this is how concatenations will be done. Is everyone clear? Any doubts in this? So the next topic is going to be operators. Okay, so what is mean by operators? So operator is a symbol, so where some functionality is already predefined. So let's see how many types of operators are there. So there are different types of operators are there. So the very well known is arithmetic operators. So what are arithmetic operators? We have addition, subtraction, multiplication, division and mod. So these operators are arithmetic operators. So I believe everyone are aware about them. Okay, so plus will be used for addition, so minus will be used for subtraction, asterisk for multiplication, slash is for division, and this percentage is for mod operation. Okay, so if anybody don't have any awareness on this, please let us know. So the second one is relational operators. Under relational operators we have greater than, equal to, less than equal to, double equal to, and not equal to will be there. Okay, so I can clearly mention a point here, everybody should have a understanding on the same. Relational operators are not going to affect variable values. Suppose for example, so here you have two values, a 15, b is 25 something. So now if I am going to write a greater than b, maybe here, or else inside sys out, or else inside if else conditions, anywhere. So if I am going to write a greater than b, so that is not going to change a value or b value. So the name itself, it is going to indicate these are relational operators. So these are going to check relation between two variables or two conditions or whatever the thing that we are going to write the functional logic. So post this one also, a value will be 15, b value will be 25 for sure. So now if you execute, that is going to give you true or false, that's it. So all these relational operators whichever we have mentioned, so these are going to check relation between two variables and two conditions. Okay, so that point you have to remember. So even if you write a greater than b, a less than b, equal to b, all these are going to be useful for the checking the relation between two variables. And so especially if you see this a equal to b, so single equal to will be helpful for assigning the value. Suppose, so here if I am going to write a is equal to some 60, so we have assigned the value 60 to the variable a. So single equal to will be used for assignment purpose. Single equal to will be used for assignment purpose. Double equal to will be used for comparison purpose. So comparison in the sense, it will check whether a value equal to with something or not. So suppose if I want to write this one sys out, so then if you are going to write a equal to 15 or not, or else a equal to b value or not, so it will check true or false. You may receive true as a result from this. So single equal to is for assignment, double equal to is for assigning and compare. Sorry, it's not assigning, we can call it as compare operator. So we are checking variable a value is going to have 15 or not in this scenario. Okay, so next, not equal to. So when both are equal, this double equal to is true, is going to become true. When these two are not equal, so it is going to become true. Now you can see this. So here suppose if I am going to mention a equal to b or not, 15 is not equals with 25, right? So that you are going to receive false. Suppose if you want to check, it is going to be not equal to with b or not. So since 15 is not equals with 25, so you are going to get true as a result from this one. So you got true here. Okay, so is everyone clear with this? Anybody have any queries on relational or arithmetic operators?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Next one. assignment operators. So as just now I have mentioned, equal to is going to be assignment operator, and we have also available plus equal to, minus equal to, asterisk equal to, and divided by equal to, and mod equal to. So these all comes under assignment operator only. So let's see one by one. So how these values are going to be worked. So first let me take a variable int I is equals to 10. So we have assigned variable, I mean to say, for variable I, so we have assigned a value 10 here. So now if I am going to mention, so if I am going to print it on the screen, so as usual we can expect 10 as a result, correct? So suppose if I am going to write I plus equals to 1, so that means you can increment I value by 1 and again store the result in integer I only. I repeat again, you can add 1 to the existing I value, again the result should be stored inside I variable only. So now if you are going to print this one, so it will give you 11. So why? Because I value is 10, so we are adding, so this plus symbol is going to be adding, so this value 1, and again the result will be stored in I only. Now if you see this, the output will become 11 here. So similarly, if you are going to subtract, so in this example, so if I am going to pass I minus equals to 1, that means whatever the I value is there, so and we are subtracting with 1, and the result available, it is going to be stored in the variable I only. So after this I value become 11, right? So now it is going to be subtracting by 1. So if you print this, you may expect the value 10 only. Now you can see you will get 10 back. Why? Because so original value is 10, after increment it become 11, so after subtraction it is going to be become 10 only again. So similarly you can also expect like this. Suppose I asterisk multiply with 10, so I value is 10, 10 multiplied by 10 going to become 100, and that is going to be stored in the variable I only. So now you can see it will become 100, 10 multiplied by 10, and again storing in the same variable I only. So similarly if you are going to write I divided by 10, so now I value was 100, right? So again it will be restored back to 10. So why? Because we are dividing that by 10. Now you can see we got 10 again. Okay. So similarly we can also mention I mod 3, that means 10 mod 3, it is going to give you the remainder. So you will get 1, balance is 1, right? So this is how you can use all assignment operators. Are we clear? Anybody have any doubts?
No, sir.
Clear, sir.
Next one, let's continue. So next operator is logical operators. So logical operators we have 3. This is going to be called as logical AND, and this is going to be called as logical OR. This is going to be called as logical NOT, or NOT we can call. So let's see this. Suppose, so you people may already aware about this, but once again I am going to show you. Whenever you use this 2 ampersand symbols, so between two conditions, between two conditions, not variables, okay. So between two conditions, when both conditions are true, output will become true. Observe this one. Suppose if the condition is true and the second condition is also true, so then output will become true. You can write. So suppose if one is true, another one is false, either first or second, so then it is going to become false. When both the conditions are false, so then output will become false. Okay, so only in a scenario when both conditions are true, then your output will become true. So if any one is becoming false, so then at that time, so output is going to become false here. Next, logical OR operator. Whenever if any one condition is true, output will become true. So let's see this one. True or true. So both conditions are true. So then output will become true only. So and when you say this, first one or the second one is true or the other one is false, so then also output will become true only. Okay. So now when it is a scenario, if both are true, both are false, then output will become false. Okay. So if any one is true between two conditions, so then output will become true. So this is how logical OR is going to work. So next one, NOT. So suppose if I am going to write like this, if condition is true, I am going to mention NOT. That means not true will become false, like this. So suppose if we are going to write like this, not false. Not false means it's going to be true when the condition is false, and if you are mentioning this exclamatory symbol, so that is going to give you reverse true. So this is how logical operators are going to work. Are we clear? Okay. Next one.
Sir, sir,
Yes, yes.
sir,
Go ahead. Next one, increment or decrement operators. So for increment decrement we have plus plus and minus minus. So normally from C language onwards we are understanding that. So this plus plus and minus minus will be used for increment and decrement. So but there are two types of increments will be there, pre-increment and post-increment. So this pre-increment, post-increments will be deciding only whenever you are working with any of the looping statements. Any of the looping statements. But whenever you consider it is a regular statement while printing in system.out.println, so it's not going to be having any difference, okay. So here if you see this, suppose I value we have already assigned. Once again I am assigning it to 10 only. So suppose if I am going to write I plus plus, so what is the value we can expect? 11, right? But you can see 10 only. So why? Because we are writing inside the print statement. So this is going to be post increment. And even if you write plus plus I also, you won't get any difference. So now you can see you will get as usual 12. So why? Because so here it is going to become 11 after this I plus plus, correct? So after that again it is pre-increment, so 11, and this is going to make it as 12. You can expect this. So now I value is ultimately 12, right? So but if you are going to mention like this I plus plus, and after that if you are going to print it, so now I value will become 13, correct? So suppose if I am going to write plus plus I, and here if you are going to print, so now you can see it is going to become 14. So whenever we are writing inside the print statement, so this I plus plus is post increment, plus plus I is pre increment. So here we are going to print the value and then incrementing. So here first we are incrementing, then we are printing. So that is what the difference of pre and post increment. So decrement is also will work like the same. And next one and the last one, so that is what ternary operator or conditional operator. So for conditional operator we have question mark and colon will be there. So these will be called as ternary operator. Suppose this ternary operator will make it shorter statement. It is nothing but it is like a if else statement, okay? So it is going to make the notation shorter. Suppose an example, here we have I value, right? So I am going to write if I greater than 10, so then I will add a question mark. So I am expecting result as a string. You can see string result equal to. So first you have to write the condition before question mark. After that you have to write, so what to be sent as a result when this condition is true. Suppose if this condition is true, here I can print greater, okay? So after that you can mention colon. If this condition is false, what to be returned, that you can write after this colon. So here lower, or else here let me write higher. So here lower. So that means if this condition is true, this result variable will get the value higher. If this condition is false, you will get lower. So that means before colon whatever value is there, that will be sent as a result when condition is true. After colon whatever the value is there, that is going to be returned when the condition is false. So now you can see this. If I am going to print this result, you are going to get higher. So suppose if I am going to mention I is equal to 4, then you can see you are going to get lower. So this will be used for conditional checking. So this is nothing but it is an if else statement, but in a shorter notation, okay? So that's about operators. Are we clear? Any questions?
Clear, sir.
Okay. So let's move for the next one. Statements. So before moving to the statements, let me cover one thing. So let's cover a scanner class. So as of now, we are going to print anything on the screen, but we are not taking any value from the end user. Am I correct? So here you can see all these out statements only we are printing. So suppose if I want to perform any program, so where values has to be input by user, not hard coded values like this. So if you observe everywhere I am giving hard coded values only. Instead of this one, if user want to enter value, so let's see how it is possible. So whenever you want to read input from end user, so we are going to use a scanner class. We are going to use a scanner class. So this scanner class will be helpful for reading inputs from the end user. Scanner class will be useful for reading inputs from the end user. So since it is a class, in case if you want to use it, first you have to create an object. Scanner sc is equals to new scanner. Okay, but scanner is not designed only for reading user inputs. This will be also useful to read contents from files also. Okay, so and the scanner will be used for different purposes. So that is the reason first you have to mention what kind of input that has to work. So it is going to take input from system. So nothing but from console screen it is going to read the input. Okay, so but whenever you are writing like this, system will give you an error. Now you can see. So don't take the class name as scanner. Okay, why? Because scanner is predefined. So I am going to use the class name as scanner demo. So I want main method, click on finish. So here I am going to create a scanner. Now you can see immediately system is giving error, right? So why? Because so scanner was need to be imported from util package. There is a package called util package. So the scanner class is implemented from util package. So in case if you want to recognize the scanner class, you have to import it. Import java.util.scanner. So like that you have to import. So then system will understand the scanner is class from util package. The source code of the scanner class is available there. You remember, so whenever we are using CLR SCR in C language, so we are going to import the header file conio.h. Am I correct? So similarly, so the scanner class has to be imported from util package. So suppose from util package, if you are importing one more statement also, so import java.util.list or something. So like that, from the same package, if you are importing multiple classes, so the program source code is going to become larger, right? So like import java.util. So regex. So like that, if you are importing multiple statements, the program code will become very lengthy. So instead of this, you can simply write util.star, similar to our SQL programming. Star indicates all, right? So here also, whenever you are mentioning star from util package, how many number of classes, maybe 100 number of classes are there. So every class will be imported to this program automatically. So either you can mention it java.util.something every time, or else you can simply finish it in one line, java.util.star. Okay, so these are the two options that we have. Now scanner class is recognized. Let's understand how to read input from the end user. So first I am going to ask user, enter your full name. Okay, so now I am expecting string from end user. Am I correct? So string name equals to, so if I am going to write a scanner object sc dot next, so let's see what will happen. So I am going to print whatever the value that I am reading from end user. So this next function will take string from end user. Let's see how it is. So enter your name. So I am entering some name and I got as it is. So by using next function, we can able to read a string value. But wait, there is a problem here. So now whenever we are executing, so if user by mistake, if they are going to mention a space between first name and last name, we are able to read only the value of before the space. Okay, so that's how we are going to read a string by using this next function. So suppose the same one, let me comment this first line. If you use this next line, if you use this function called next line, so let me do the same thing. So now you are able to read the entire line. So the difference between next and next line is, next is going to take the string till the time it founds a space, but next line is going to read the entire value. Are we clear? So this point has to be remembered. So I am going to comment all these lines. Now let's try how to read input, a numeric input. Okay, now so I am going to ask user to enter first value. So if I want to perform addition operator, so I can take int v1 is equal to, so whenever you are expecting a number, integer especially, so you have to use a function called next int. So yesterday as I have mentioned, so Java is going to use camel case sensitivity. The second word, first letter will be capital letter, you can see. Next int. Next and int are two words, right? So whenever they have joined it, so integer is going to have I capital letter here. So now you will get integer. So similarly, we can expect the second value. So maybe this variable name is v2, and if we are going to mention v1 plus v2, as it is you can expect the addition. So enter first value 15, second value 32, you will get 47. But here one point to be remembered. So even though, so from the console if you are passing the values as numbers, so those are going to be in string format, right? That doesn't mean it is going to take strings. Okay, so suppose if you are entering 10, so second one 2k example we have given, so you are going to get an exception. So the value should be a number, make sure this. Okay, so similarly if you are going to expect double values or float values, so we can do the same thing. Double values or float values, we can do the same thing. So suppose, one second. So if you are expecting double value or float values, you can use double here. The program will be as it is. Here also we are going to expect a double, but whenever you are expecting double value, instead of integer you have to use a function called next double. That's it. So instead of next int, so we have to take next double. So whenever it is expecting double value, you can enter the decimal values like this. It will give you result like this. So suppose if you are expecting boolean value, so we are going to take next boolean. Okay, so this is how you can use a scanner class, so to read inputs from end user. Okay, any questions?